Hello traders, welcome back to another one of my videos. Today we're going to be talking about support and resistance, so stay tuned, we're getting into it right now. So first things first, if this is your first time here and you're looking to improve as a Forex trader, start right now by subscribing to the channel down below. So understanding support and resistance. This is a very common technique used all over, from traders in the Forex market to the stock market, all sorts of places. The whole idea with support and resistance is we're looking to identify through technical analysis points on the chart where we might find some potential reversals or points where markets may be ready to turn or at least stall out. The basic concept is using supply and demand. It uses different levels on the charts to try and identify points where demand is, where buyers may be hanging out, or supply is, where sellers are hanging out. Again, support is equal to demand in this simple concept, and resistance is equal to supply. So let's talk about how we can actually identify support and resistance. That's probably a good way to look or to get started here with support and resistance. We can talk about how you want to take a look at the left side of the chart. We're using historical data, historical price action, to identify levels on the chart where we may see reversals happen again in the future. There's an old saying that oftentimes history tends to repeat itself. And in support and resistance, or supply and demand type trading, we're looking to do just that. Identifying V's and upside down V's is a key way to identify supply and demand, or support and resistance, on charts. Now, I actually have a full video on this. I'll go ahead and link it up above if you'd like to click on that to check out more on that topic. But what I'll go over is just a quick version here. So identifying V's, we're typically just going to look for levels on the chart where we see a strong V type movement. Hence the name, right? We're looking for levels on the chart where we see some sort of strong V movement form. Now, what this is going to show us is that pivotal point here at the bottom is a level of structure or support in this market. Likewise, if we change the color to red, you can see that we actually have an upside down V right here. So this point here then becomes an interesting level to see where markets may reverse. And here you can actually see that both of these levels tended to work out pretty nice. So you actually see that support actually held again right there, and resistance actually ended up holding nicely here. Now, is it going to work perfectly? No, but this is a pretty good way to find some interesting levels in the market to potentially set up some trade ideas. So again, I just briefly mentioned that support and resistance is not always going to work. In fact, this is where we actually get the concept of a breakout. Now, a breakout is simply the concept of a broken support level potentially becoming potential resistance, right? So a lot of times you'll have a key level like this here where price was at a resistance point, right? You can see that price rejected that point prior, and we actually made a movement to the upside, breaking above and causing a breakout to the upside. Now, a lot of times what you're going to see when it comes to support and resistance is you'll see that same price come into play once more on a pullback. You can see here circled in blue, we can talk about this level, how it was once a resistance, right? If we look left here, this was a resistance point here, but now it actually became a potential support zone. Now let's talk about that briefly just from a logical standpoint. Let's say that people are talking about a car, right? We're looking at a car priced at, let's say, $2,000. Well, if tons of people are saying that $2,000 is too high, then of course the price will have to come down, as we saw here. So again, this is our car price. Let's just theoretically talk about that, right? So we see sellers come in and say $2,000 is too much, we're going to sell it off here. Well, then we actually see that there's an influx in buyers. Let's say that there's less cars in supply, or some sort of reason people want to buy this car more. So they're actually willing to pay more. So now when people are paying, let's say, $2,500 for this car, when the price comes back to $2,000, now that structural level is not only a level of interest, but it's actually going to be a demand point, because what was before a level of resistance now potentially becomes a level of demand or support. So moving on, talking about probabilities. I mentioned a couple times already, support and resistance is not perfect, but it is a game of probabilities. And there are some ways that we can actually combine multiple factors to give us a better chance of success when using support and resistance. A lot of times people will say support and resistance, it will work, but you need to combine it with other things. I totally think that's true. Support and resistance by itself may not be the answer, but support and resistance combined with other key factors or confluence may be a great way to look for opportunities in the market. So one way that's very common is for traders to use support and resistance in combination with a trend. Most of our demonstrations or examples already have been in a horizontal or sideways market, but there is the potential to use support and resistance in the context of trends. Some traders specifically like to use support and resistance in combination or in confluence with a trend. For example, in this case, you can see a downtrend on the chart, and we would be potentially be looking for only levels of resistance or sell points in this market, as opposed to looking for buyer zones. Now, this is simply using the concept of trend following, or a market and momentum to our advantage, looking for levels that may be of interest and combining those two concepts to give us a more powerful or higher probability chance of success. Next up, we can talk about support and resistance in the context of trend lines. Remember, we just talked about trends. Well, a lot of times people like to use trend lines. Trend lines in combination with support and resistance can be a great way to create some higher probability trade setups. Here you can see we have a level, you can see the blue zone there is identified as a level of potential support. We had a breakout of what was resistance, and now it has become potential support, lined up nicely with that trend line overall. That gives us a really good chance for some high probability entries here to the long side in combination with that trend plus the trend line plus a level of support. So combining multiple things, again, guys, can give us a better opportunity. If this was your first time, again, I invite you to like the video down below. I've also got some videos here that I'll share that you can click on and watch more technical analysis, price action based strategies and concepts. Go ahead and click into one of these videos and we'll continue the conversation there. Thanks again, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.